Hello everyone, this is Professor GonGoon here, bringing you Class 3 of Leagueology. As I mentioned before in my previous video, the topic for the next few videos will be on trading. This one in particular will teach you how to analyze a champion's skill set so that you can prepare yourself and adapt to any matchup. And if you have not seen my previous video, I recommend you do so. There's a link in the description, and there will be a link somewhere on the screen if you want to go check that out. So let's begin. The first thing we're going to briefly touch on is how to analyze a champion's strengths and weaknesses. For this example, we'll use two popular champions who take their strengths to the extreme, Jax and Renekton. Renekton is one of the strongest lane bullies in the game, while Jax is arguably the strongest late game champion. So let's go to the League of Legends Wikipedia and examine their kits. We'll only look at it briefly, but you should make it a habit of checking the Wikipedia to learn more about your champion and the enemy champions that you are facing off against. The first thing we'll take a look at is Renekton's base stats, but for the sake of this video, we'll only take a look at one. Instead of mana, Renekton uses Fury, which plays a huge part in his ability to dominate the lane. When you have mana, you have to buy mana potions, mana items, and you can't just use your abilities whenever you would like to. You have to use them efficiently to get the most out of your mana. But whenever you're a non-mana based champion like Renekton or Garen or Katarina for example, you can use your abilities whenever you would like to because there's no penalty for doing so. Now I'll go over the rest of his abilities and explain why they're all so good at helping him dominate the lane. His Q, called the Meek, is normally the first skill Renekton's max, and there are a few reasons why. The range on the ability allows him to poke with it, making it really hard for the enemy to retaliate if they do not have a ranged ability as well. The cooldown on it is only 8 seconds, which is fairly short, and it does a decent amount of physical damage. However, the most important part of this skill is that it heals Renekton for each target hit. This sustain, combined with not having mana as a resource, allows Renekton to stay in lane indefinitely and bully his opponent. His W, Ruthless Predator, does a huge amount of damage and is an auto-attack reset. What I mean by this is, you can auto-attack and then use this ability immediately after without having the normal auto-attack delay. This ability also stuns for 0.75 seconds, which allows you to get an additional hit off without giving the enemy a chance to retaliate. The empowered version increases the damage, and it also enhances the stun to 1.5 seconds. The damage this skill provides, not only from the ability itself but also from the stun afterwards, allows Renekton to out-trade any opponent. Next we have his E, Slice and Dice. Slice is a dash, and if it hits a target, it enables you to use Dice, which is another dash. Essentially, if you hit a target with your first dash, you can dash again. This skill lets Renekton overextend and pressure opponents hard, because if the enemy jungler does gank, he has 2 dashes and a flash, so he will more than likely easily escape. It also makes it really hard to play passively against Renekton because he can engage on you whenever he wants to. And last but not least, we have his ultimate, Dominus. This ability gives Renekton 300 health, and he also does area of effect magic damage. Early on into the game, 300 health is huge, and whenever you combine the additional magic damage from his ultimate with the damage and utility offered from the rest of his abilities, it makes it really hard to lane against Renekton because he has all the tools necessary to counter anything that you throw at him. For Jax, I'll do the same thing I did for Renekton and take a closer look at all of his abilities, and explain why it makes him such a beast later on into the game. But before I do that, I want you to look at the cooldown on Jax's abilities, and notice that his cooldowns go down as you level each skill. This plays a huge part in making him a late game terror. First off, Jax's passive grants more attack speed the higher level he is. At maximum stacks, it goes from 24% at level 1 to 84% at level 16, which is a 60% attack speed increase. That's more attack speed than a Phantom Dancer. His Q, Leaf Strike, lets him gap close on an enemy fairly easily or escape dangerous situations by jumping to allies or jumping to wards. As you level it, the cooldown gets lower and lower, and it makes it extremely hard for enemies to kite and escape from Jax. His W, Empower, is an auto attack reset, and at rank 5 has a cooldown of a mere 3 seconds. When you combine this with his passive and ultimate, the amount of damage that Jax is capable of putting out is absurd. Counter-Strike, his E, makes him dodge auto attacks from any unit, minions included, and reduces the amount of area of effect damage he takes by 25%, and is also an area of effect stun. This ability, single-handedly, is why Jax can outduel most auto attack based champions. This reduces a huge amount of damage he takes, and when combined with the defenses granted from his ultimate, and the stun this skill provides, it makes it really hard to beat Jax in a duel. And finally, we have his ultimate, Grandmaster's Might. This ability has a passive effect and an active effect. The passive effect grants Jax an additional amount of magic damage on every third auto attack. And with the increased attack speed from his passive, and the auto attack reset from his W, he can proc this really easily. The active gives Jax resistances based on his offensive stats. This lets Jax build a lot of damage while still being fairly tanky. And when you combine all of these great abilities into one champion, it is no wonder why he really is the ultimate duelist. Now that you know how to analyze a champion, make sure you put that knowledge to use and browse the League of Legends Wikipedia while the game is loading. Knowing the enemy's cooldowns can give you a huge advantage in lane, because you will know when you can force fights. Engaging when the enemy's skills are on cooldown will give you a huge advantage, because they cannot fight back with their abilities. Also, by learning how much damage you and your opponent do, it will be much easier for you to calculate trades, which I'll discuss in a later video. I would like to close this video out by reminding you to think while you play. Think about what you can do to win your lane, and if that's not possible, think about what you can do to still have a big impact on the game. When you perform an action, consider the alternatives and decide if that was the best course of action. Thinking while you play is the best way to improve. Hopefully, you've learned something from this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment below, and if you did enjoy it, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching. GonGoon signing out. Peace.